Hi gang, this is Mike Eddy, and today we're going to do a little demonstration on the new Canon SL1 and how to do video in the simplest settings. So, Caleb, go ahead and zoom in on this one. This is our new Canon SL1. It's got settings across the top here for off, on, for still photography, and the little movie button here is for video. So, switch this all the way to video, and we start getting an image in the back. Now there's three things that are part of exposure. The shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. For video production, we want to leave our shutter speed on a 60th of a second because our frame rate is a 30th of a second. So we're not going to change the shutter speed. The aperture is what controls the depth of field. And most of the time, we're going to want a nice, shallow depth of field. And the third thing that we can select is the ISO, and that's the sensitivity. We don't want that too high of a number, or it's going to introduce noise. So simply, if you look at the back here, you've got your three settings. There's the shutter speed, the aperture, and the ISO is right here. Again, the shutter speed we're not going to change, but you see by default, the green bracket indicates that that is the one that's going to be activated for selecting with our dial on the top. So by moving this dial, we're adjusting the shutter speed. We don't want to adjust the shutter speed. We want to leave that at a 60th of a second. So what I want to do in order to change the aperture is I have to push this button right here. So pushing this button, now I can see I have the bracket around the aperture. Now when I do the dial on top, I'm changing the aperture. The higher the f-stop number, the smaller the hole and the less light I'm letting in. The lower the number, the larger the hole, the more light I'm letting in. So 2.8 is the largest aperture. Now I also want to change the ISO, or the sensitivity. The way we do that is up on top here, there's a little button that says ISO. If I hold that down, I get a little window in the back here that gives me selection for ISO. Unfortunately, it's sort of gray on top there, so it kind of defeats the purpose of understanding the exposure. But looking around the edge, I can change this down to get the proper exposure. Press that ISO button again, and that selection is gone. Now by looking at this, it's still a little bit overexposed. We press the ISO, make it one less sensitive, change it to 800, press that, and now I have the proper exposure. I don't have the right focus, but it looks like the exposure is correct. So again, those three things. Shutter speed, we're not going to change, leave it at a 60th. So we have to change the green bracket. In order to change it to the aperture, we have to hold on this little button here that says AV and is a plus or minus. Hold that, then do the dial. Or press the ISO button on the top, change our selection to change the exposure, and press it again and it's on. That's how we're going to set the exposure in a simple way for video.